Welcome to Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now you can learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property. Learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau with the Mineola law firm of Shane, Dox, Denisi, and Corker. He's a member of the Committee on Professional Ethics of the Bar Association of Nassau County and counsel to the Nassau Academy of Law. And now, here is your host for Law You Should Know, attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we're going to focus on a very important but different topic for lawyers: how you can reduce stress and anxiety. And my guest is Linda Scheele, who's a life coach and has a tape and CD available to help us accomplish that. And we'll talk about, some of the things that lawyers and clients can do every day to reduce their stress and help to reduce their anxiety, which unfortunately lawyers are subject to a lot of stress and anxiety. How are you doing? Linda, first of all, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate that.
Okay, now...
Nice to be here.
A lawyer's life, in most cases, unfortunately, is full of stress and anxiety. A lawyer may be going to court and have to argue, an important case or meet with difficult other lawyers. And we'll talk about some other situations a little bit later. In general, how can a lawyer relax a little bit before they have to enter the lion's den and put themselves in the best possible mental framework? Right.
Well, there's probably several answers to that, but for a quick fix to just, if you're going into something and you really feel a little over anxious, I think breathing has been proven to be the best thing that you can do, because deep breathing takes you from that being anxious down to being calm. But breathing correctly is the important thing. Breathing through your nose, deep breathing. So that's probably number one, is the breathing.
And that essentially can almost be done anytime or anywhere and as often as necessary.
Absolutely. The great part about that is you can do it when you're sitting home. You can do it with a client. You can give the advice to your client. Take deep breaths, because that will reduce your stress. If you do that 10 times, you're going to reduce your stress by 40%. That's huge.
So this is a simple thing. It works, and it's non-addictive, and there's no side effects.
Absolutely, it's non-addictive, but it should be addictive because it really helps you. It's something that everybody should learn how to breathe correctly, because it does reduce your stress.
And go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Linda.
Lawyers, and I've read an awful lot about lawyers, and their brain is trained, to be okay under stress. But after a while, that becomes really, really difficult, and you kind of start living it. So you really need to find a few things that you can do. So go ahead.
And this works for clients as well. If they're going into court, they're very nervous about it, they're going to some meeting related to their case, or they're anxious about seeing the lawyer, they can follow this practice as well.
Absolutely. In fact, it works on both ends, and I think clients would absolutely appreciate the fact that you give them something to help them relax, because that's got to be a very, very stressful situation going into court, and, especially not knowing outcomes, depending upon what kind of a trial it is. But absolutely, breathing is number one.
And if it's a long, stressful meeting with the client to prepare for a legal proceeding, it probably is a good idea for both the lawyer and the client to engage in this practice.
They can do that, and if they can take a minute break and walk around and get outside, the sun is just good. If you can get outside and take a break and Look at the clouds. Look at the sky. Check nature. It just brings you down and makes you less stressful and less anxious.
Sometimes in the middle of a day in court, it's hard to actually look at nature or look outside, or the sky may not be cooperating. But just by taking a break, by breathing, by walking, by changing the setting, that can help someone out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can sit in court and breathe deeply, and that will keep you calm. It absolutely will.
And can you bring a picture of nature to look at or put it on your phone?
There you go. Absolutely. How's that? Visualization is actually great. Or bring a picture of maybe your granddaughter or your child or
your pet or your mother or something that helps to relax you and that gives you support.
Yes, makes you feel good. Something that gives you that feel good feeling, and it kind of takes you away from the stress of the situation.
And perhaps gives you a little bit of a force field.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it.
And
absolutely.
What about, that's the secret behind Spock, and what about visualization? How does that work?
Visualization actually takes you out of whatever your mind is going through at that time, whatever stressful situation, whatever is causing you to be anxious. It's like watching a good movie. It can take you away from all the other thoughts that you have. We have 70,000 thoughts every single day. Usually the same ones we had the day before, and we're going to have them again the next day. So anything that can stop and slow down your mind and bring you into what they call stillness is wonderful. And visualization is great.
And what else can you try to visualize? Some positive thing in the past, a positive outcome of your legal difficulty, some event you're looking forward to in the future?
Well, I think that's absolutely true. And I think that happens. That's for the lawyer and for the client. To come in with that kind of an attitude and visualize the end, as they say, think from the end. Actually think about the end of the thing in a wonderful way, that this is going to be the result and we're going to get through this. And that kind of lightens you a little bit. It's not always this heavy, like everything is coming crashing down on you.
And sometimes it's just a process you have to go through, that, you're going to be okay at the end, but you have to, take a few steps to get there.
Yes, and you have to kind of detach yourself a little bit. I know that sounds easy, and it isn't always easy. But if you practice it a little bit, you can do that, because there are certain things you can't control. You cannot always control what's going to happen in a courtroom, and you can't always control something that's happening with your client or the weather. So you're only going to be able to control what you can, and you should remember that.
And it's important for lawyers to also counsel this to counsel their clients about this, because they are a counselor as well as an attorney, and their client will like them better, will feel better about the legal process and their work as a lawyer if they're in a more relaxed position.
Absolutely. I think that any client would appreciate that kind of connecting with their lawyer.
And you're right. And some people talk about doctors that have it or not. I mean, it's a little dated, but Marcus Welby. I mean, sometimes that's so effective in helping people during the process and to, leaving them a little bit better off.
Everybody, well, I say everybody, but, I've been in the hospital for a few times with things, and you can get a great surgeon, but boy, if he's just not connecting with you, or he won't talk to you, it just kind of turns you off. And I think that happens probably with clients and lawyers also. Everything doesn't always have to be all business, And
it's important, the lawyer staff as well, because they're meeting with the client, they're greeting the client, and just like it is in a medical setting, that can make the process much more relaxing for the person, because the people are going to be nervous when they come into a lawyer's office, when they deal with lawyers or their staff. They can't help but be nervous.
Absolutely. And I think it would be nice if lawyers and their workers, their secretaries or their assistants, would sit down and discuss this. I think it would be really, really healthy for the whole environment in an office to discuss the fact that, being really, really helpful and understanding and having a little compassion, because let's face it, people come to lawyers because they have a problem. They're not asking you to dinner. They have a problem, and they need that kind of compassion.
And you don't need you don't need any fancy degrees to have compassion. It doesn't cost any extra to offer it, and it can go a long way.
Well, the interesting part about it is, and because I do a lot of studying in the brain, and the more compassionate you are, it changes your brain. And then it becomes more normal. So if you're doing this with your clients or the people that you work with in the office, it's amazing how much a smile makes. It's so easy, but it changes a whole complexion.
And it also may de-escalate the intensity of the legal proceeding, whether it's a meeting, negotiations, a meeting with the judge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that would just absolutely take everything down a notch so that it hasn't got that tenseness that you would find. And it's simple. Anybody can do it.
It's just a matter of the attitude or with a little training.
Absolutely.
I just want to go back to what you said about breathing. It's important for this relaxation breathing that you do it through the nose.
Right. Well, when, the amount of times, I'm just going to cite this because I use it in my practice, the amount of times you breathe in a minute determines how long you're going to live and how healthy you're going to be. So if you think about that, everybody kind of looks at me like, should I breathe faster or slower? Well, you should be breathing around 16 times in a minute. Breathing through your nose, your deep breathing, your body needs energy, and the more oxygen you get, the more energy you get. And your brain needs 20% of that. And if it's not deep breathing, they're not getting it.
So the nose breathing is going to help you relax and slow things down.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tell us in a minute about the yoga and CD that you offer that helps with these exercises and ideas.
Well, I have a CD that I came out with. Actually, it's on Amazon and Spotify and iTunes. It's called Yoga Nidra Meditation, and it's Yoga Nidra with Linda Scheele is the name of it. Yoga Nidra was actually came about 30 or 40 years ago. And what it does is it actually changes your brain. So they used it a lot for vets. But anybody that is stressed, first responders, lawyers, and it just actually takes you, when you're listening to it, from one side of your brain to the other. And this actually, what it does is it breaks down that anxiety and that stress. So I used it a lot in addiction centers. I worked with addictions, people with addictions. And I worked with, several people with cancer that are under a lot of stress. In fact, I use this in most all of the classes because I do teach yoga too.
Okay, to find that they need your last name, it's Scheele.
Yes.
Okay, We're going to take a short break now. We'll be back in a moment, and we'll be discussing other ways to reduce stress and anxiety for lawyers and their client. We're talking with Linda Scheele, that's Scheele, and you're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, and also over the internet at nccradio.org.
This portion of programming on WHPC is brought to you on behalf of the Nassau County Bar Association, who wants you to know about ADR, Alternate Dispute Resolution, which can help you avoid costly, lengthy, and uncertain litigation in court. By resolving disputes through mediation or arbitration, it gives you control over who decides your case. A mediator helps all parties to reach an agreement they can live with, or an arbitrator selected by the parties hears and decides the case. Your attorney can still represent you, but you control who decides your case. ADR is faster faster and less stressful than fighting in court, and it is a great way to resolve divorce, employment, or commercial disputes. ADR is now offered through the Nassau County Bar Association. Find out more about how ADR can help resolve your dispute by calling 516-747-4070 or visit nassaubar.org.
Once again, we continue with Law You Should Know. From the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denise, Corker, and Sauer, here is attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and we're talking to Linda Scheele about ways that lawyers and their clients can reduce stress and anxiety. Linda, before we come to other techniques, and it's good to have many tools in the toolbox, you mentioned also the idea of just, a mindset that it's not about you. Can you explain that a moment?
Well, sometimes you really have to think out of the box. Things that happen, as I say, you can't control everything around you because everything isn't always about you. And I think that people get caught up in their own mind thinking, oh my God, I could do this, I could do that. They can't control everything. So they really, really have to be able to let go. And that's not easy. There isn't any really easy fix for this. It's a gradual process. It takes time. But with a few really good habits, people can do that. And then they can let go.
And also that it's sometimes it's about an event that already occurred. It can't be undone. Yes. You can just put the best possible spin on it with the help of your lawyer. And, you just want to mitigate the circumstances and go on with your life.
Right. And I think and I know from speaking to several lawyers and people with high stress situations, you take it home with you because, you are always learning about how to handle tough situations. So you're always looking at the negative of things. Well, what happens is then your brain always starts looking for the negative, and you can't let it go. So when you go home, you're looking like, oh, my God, my child's learning how to drive now. Oh, my God, I'm sure he's going to get killed. Everything turns into negativity. You have to be able to stop that. Let it go, because life isn't always just negative.
So someone might have been involved in some business deal or had a car accident or, let's say, prosecuted for some kind of criminal activity, and they can't turn the clock back. They can just make the best of it, try to, minimize the negative consequences of this and try to go on with their life.
Absolutely. And that's really what mindfulness is all about is like, yesterday is gone. You can't change that. And tomorrow, you don't know. 90% of what you worry about never happens. So you really only have this time in your life. This is it now. And
for people who are not that familiar with it, like myself, just explain to us for a moment about the idea of mindfulness and why it's so important.
Mindfulness actually is, as I say, it's living in the now. It's actually, when you talk to somebody, your mind isn't thinking about what you need to do in the next 10 minutes. You listen to people. You go outside and you actually look at things. How many times do you eat dinner and you don't even remember what you ate, never mind what it tasted like? You really need to spend time thinking about what you're doing right now. This is it. Because as I say, you can't change it. What happened, happened. Tomorrow you can plan for it, but you can't dwell on it because that just makes you more anxious all the time. So letting go, mindfulness is a great, great practice. It absolutely is. And what it is, it's actually was sort of taking meditation, which a lot of people would look at like kind of woo-woo stuff, and they demystified it. And that's really what mindfulness is.
Well, I don't know if we should call it Lulu. Let's just call it more Eastern medicine. That Western medicine is now... No, seriously, that Western, in the last 10 or 20 years, that Eastern medicine is now endorsing. And there are stories in the media, we don't have to go into them now, about people in all kinds of high places or suffering from different trauma
Absolutely.
or pain endorsing meditation because it works.
It is now.
And it doesn't have the side effects of drugs.
Exactly. And you can still get a nice high from it. I'm going to tell you, you feel awful, awful good when you meditate. A half hour of
Without the side effects.
Yes. And a half hour of meditation is worth 4 hours of sleep. So if you really know how to, relax and come into stillness, have all those thoughts kind of calm down, that's meditation. And there's many ways you can do it. It can be guided, or you can, just try and go into stillness. You can do it with your breathing. If you just think and concentrate on your breathing, that brings you down to being less anxious and into stillness. And it works. It absolutely works. It's a wonderful practice.
And there are many different types out there, so people should experiment and explore, discuss these things with practitioners or investigate
Absolutely.
courses on it or groups that do these things because they do work.
They do work.
And they're
They
becoming,
absolutely do.
more widespread every day. And
there was a book written by Herb Benson, and he was one of the early people with mindfulness. And it's called the Rapid Response Method. And it's a big, big bestseller. And he's opened up the Mind Institute at the University of Massachusetts. It's a big institute on mindfulness.
okay, let's go back to anxiety and stress. When those things are going on, when someone's getting anxious and nervous and feeling stressful, what is happening to their nervous system?
Well, their nervous system, when you are like that, you go up into your sympathetic nervous system, which comes from your brain. It's your amygdala in front, right? And all of a sudden, the cortisol comes out and your blood stops flowing because it's fight or flight. It's like, oh, my God, there's a bear coming at me. Do I run? So that's your sympathetic nervous system. And when you start breathing or relaxing, then all of a sudden you go to your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your calm, and this is when you get the dopamine and your adrenaline slows down, your heart rate slows down. To be in that sympathetic nervous system all the time is going to cause heart attacks. It's going to cause lots of cancer, lots of diseases will come about when you're living in that sympathetic nervous system.
As well as a stressful existence day to day.
Oh, absolutely. And that's part of it, because you're living in that. So you really need to try and turn that around and at least find some times during the day when you just sit down, or even when you're driving a car, start breathing deep. That'll bring you down. And
these are caused by your brain, the way your brain is processing information or events.
Yes. Absolutely.
So it's nothing so much external. It's being triggered by your events. So when you breathe properly or when you do meditation, you're refocusing these and reducing the stressful energy.
Right.
And that allows you to avoid heart attacks, avoid the toll that unchecked stress will take.
Exactly. And it does. I know first responders and vets, they have the largest suicide rate in the country. And I know lawyers there's lots of them with PTSD, and we won't go in that tonight, but, it's really, really very bad.
But also lawyers are under a lot of stress. Their clients maybe are under a lot of stress. And these are ways to reduce that, and if they do it on a regular basis, like maintenance, it will help to toughen your brain and your body so that everything won't send you off into a stressful, a too stressful mode. You're always going to have some stress, but you want to manage it, you want to mitigate it, and you want to minimize it.
Well, there is such a thing as good stress. You do need stress in your life.
And what is some good stress?
Well, if something is happening, you all of a sudden you think you're going to get in a car crash and you slam the brakes on and you make sure everybody's okay, that your body gets right into the stress mode, but you need it then.
Okay.
So it's okay to be stressful in certain situations, but you don't stay there. That's when you really get all the damage to your body and your health, is when you don't come down from it.
Okay. We only have about 2 minutes left. Again, just tell us about your meditation, your CD and your tape, and some final closing thoughts.
Well, as I said, the CD is, the Yoga Nidra, and for anybody that's looking for just to listen, they can they can get it from Amazon or iTunes, Spotify. It's really very relaxing, and they can digitally download it and listen to it whenever. Not when you're driving, though. So meditation, as I say, it's really, really good. I do have a DVD out too, which is chair yoga, and that is something that can actually be done in the office for secretaries or yourself, and it's actually stretching. You just bend over.
Can you do that while you're watching TV or during the commercials?
Absolutely.
Okay, and just tell us quickly where to find it again.
Well, the CD is on Amazon, or it's on Spotify, or it's on iTunes. You can, purchase it on any of those. My DVD is only on my website, and that is www.myrestorative.yoga.com. And you can go on there and, digitally download it, or, can get a hold of me and I can send you. Most people don't have CDs anymore, don't play them. So
okay.
It's both.
I wish we had some more time, but I'd like to thank our guest, Linda Scheele. That's Scheele. If you missed any portion of this broadcast, you want to tell someone else about it, you can find a free podcast by going to nccradio.org or searching WHPC on iTunes or Spreaker, SPREAKER.com. Please join us next week at this same time on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, also online at nccradio.org.